Kia ora. Welcome to Common Ground. I'm Zola. Common Ground is about enabling regenerative human settlement, so I thought I'd share with you some definitions about regenerative development that I got from the Regenerative Practitioners course that I'm taking with Regenesis. These particularly I pulled out because I believe that they relate more closely to the housing environments that I would like to see more of. So regenerative development is about seizing the potential born of crisis for transforming our role as designers, planners, builders, and citizens. It enables the places where we live and work to thrive. It works on potential in a way that creates greater vitality. It designs a built environment and human systems that can co-evolve with natural systems. It works to create fields of caring and commitment among stakeholders and stewards. And it enables people to understand themselves and the places where they live as complex, evolving, living systems, and then builds the political will and the systemic thinking capabilities required to design and create new ways of living in harmony with those living systems. So that's quite a mouthful. I thought I'd go into a little bit more about what that means specifically for housing and considering it within the framework of well-being. So Common Ground believes that housing can lead to better well-being, both for humans and the environment in the world around us. So in terms of social well-being, how it contributes, if we were to see a housing community that was regenerative, it would have a design process that is community-led and community-focused. It would be democratic or sociocratic, having systems for decision-making. The neighborhood layout would facilitate social interaction and reciprocity. And there would be a commons or a few commons for shared facilities and resources. In terms of economic well-being, there would be affordable rent or own, and there would be spaces for micro-enterprise activities and also opportunities for sharing of resources to save money and time, such as both buying and cooperative enterprises. There would be ecological well-being. That means that the homes would be sustainably built with non-toxic quality materials. The neighborhood infrastructure would use appropriate technology and renewable resources that would reuse and recycle waste and capture water and energy. And the land layout would be able to provide for local production of food and for biodiversity. And in terms of world well-being, how it would contribute to the greater whole, these housing communities would serve not only the residents, but positively impact on the wider social, ecological, economic aspects of the surrounding places. And it would be a place of continued learning and evolution of its purpose and mission. So in terms of what that might look like if you were to look at the development cycle of such a place, now usual development cycle for a housing community is such that the land is very expensive, and when it is secured, it is then has infrastructure built on it. And then all of those processes cost a lot of money, and then eventually get to the point where houses can be built on it, and then residents are fit inside, and then it's sort of a done deal. Versus in a regenerative space, all of those are living systems that continuously interact and add value to one another. And so the land is not just something that is negotiated as a price to be built on and then the infrastructure, but that is taken into consideration with the residents, the homes that will be on the land, where everything will be situated in terms of where things are on that land to begin with. So I'll go through with you the steps of what would a regenerative housing development look like. So the character of the land would be that it is a living entity. It would have mori, life spirit. It would be seen for its ecosystem services and its flora and fauna and its cultural significance. The harvest of what we get from such land are the use of the ecosystem services. We get food, shade, biodiversity, bumping spaces, etc. And then there's the infrastructure. The character of this infrastructure is that it is renewable, appropriate, so it is local and simple tech, and it has closed loop systems. And the harvest that we get out of that is that we get recycled energy and water, and we would get carbon sinking. The houses on this regenerative housing development, the character of these houses are that they are culturally appropriate. They allow for intergenerational expansion, and they would be made out of natural materials and use passive solar technologies. The harvest from such a home would be, of course, to have a home to live in, to be able to accommodate extended family, to be able to save money, to be able to heat and cool oneself, and of course having many other things happening inside that home. For the residents, how are the residents seen? They are seen as contributors, as collaborators, as participants, and as agents of change. The harvest that one gets would be social connections and independent relationships, reciprocity, and celebration. And then there is the wider community. The character of that community is that it adds value to and benefits from this residential community, and that the wider community is also seen as collaborators. The harvest that one gets is there is increased economic development, safety, social cohesion, and much more. I'd like us to embrace a more regenerative way of developing our housing and our community, and I hope this has given you some things to think about. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Common Ground.